Chapter 1. Aiden tugged his coat closer as the wind picked up, his eyes on the ground while he navigated through the leftover crowds of the late evening rush. His phone was pressed to his ear, and he listened to the intermittent beeps before his friend, Mark, answered. "Hey, Mark, still up for that drink?" Aiden asked, trying to keep the weariness from his voice. "On a Thursday night? Man, what's got you so down?" Mark's voice was tinged with concern, but carried a playful undertone. "Same old, just the end of a long week. Figured I could use a good venting session," Aiden replied, rounding a corner to the quieter part of the street. "I hear you. The usual place in 20 minutes. Mark suggested. "Perfect." Suddenly, Aiden's phone emitted a harsh static noise, making him wince and pull the device away from his ear. The screen flickered unnaturally as he brought it back to inspect it. "What the—" he started, but there was no one on the other line anymore, just more crackling that seemed to grow louder, consuming the space around him. Aiden stopped walking, looking around. The street was nearly empty, bathed in the orange glow of the streetlights that now seemed to flicker in rhythm with the crackles from his phone. "This can't be right," he muttered, tapping his phone in an attempt to end the call. As he did, a strange sensation caught his attention. The air in front of him shimmered like a heat wave, but the temperature was dropping, the night unusually cold. "Hello? Is anyone there?" Aiden called out tentatively, not sure what he was asking or whom he expected an answer from. From the shimmering air, a voice echoed, low and resonant, but distorted as if coming through water. Aiden Rowley. Hearing his name from the unknown distortion made his heart skip a beat. He looked around wildly, trying to locate the source of the voice. "Who's there? What do you want?" Aiden's voice was firm, but his hands trembled slightly. "Time to return," the voice continued, as the air in front of him twisted into a vortex, the edges sharp with light that seemed to pulse with life. "Return? Return where? I don't understand," Aiden shouted, backing away. But the vortex seemed to follow him, growing larger and more forceful with each step he took. "No time, no understanding needed. Only return," the voice insisted, louder now, enveloping the space around him. Aiden turned to run, but it was like moving through molasses. His legs felt heavy, the world around him seemed to stretch and elongate, distorting as the pull from the vortex increased. Panic clawed at his chest. "This can't be happening," he gasped, his breath visible in the cold air. He stumbled, catching himself before he fell, and turned back to see the vortex now dominating the street, the world beyond it blurring and fading. Out of options and out of time, Aiden made a split-second decision. Okay, I'll come. Just stop this, please," he yelled towards the vortex. "As you wish," the voice said, now almost a whisper as the air calmed and the light from the vortex stabilized into a gentle glow. Taking a deep breath and with a final glance at the familiar world around him, Aiden stepped forward, reaching out towards the glow. As his fingers touched the light, it felt warm and tingling, not at all like he expected. "Goodbye, Mark," he whispered, a sad smile flickering across his face as memories of his normal, mundane life flashed through his mind. Office desks, coffee breaks, late-night drinks, all vanishing as he was pulled through the vortex. The transition was nothing like Aiden imagined. There was no sense of movement, no swirling tunnel of light like in the movies. Instead, everything went silent. The noise from the street, the crackling of his phone, even his own heartbeat seemed to mute. Then, just as suddenly, sound returned. Aiden felt solid ground under his feet, his body heavy with gravity again. He opened his eyes slowly, blinking against the brightness of a sun he did not recognize in the sky painted with strokes of purple and pink. As his vision cleared, he looked around at an otherworldly landscape. Vast plains under a sky of swirling colors. Bizarre plants with leaves shimmering in iridescent hues, and, in the distance, towering crystals that pulsed with an inner light. Stunned, Aiden turned in a slow circle, taking it all in. "Where am I?" he murmured to himself, his voice a mix of awe and fear. "Welcome to Elisareth, Aiden Rowley," the same voice from before announced, now clear and resonant in the open air. Aiden jumped, spinning towards the voice. A figure approached him, tall and imposing, cloaked in robes that shifted colors just like the leaves of the plants around them. "Who are you? What is this place?" Aiden demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. "I am Merthin, your guide in this realm," the figure introduced himself, stopping a few feet away from Aiden. "And this, as I said, is Elisareth, the world between worlds. You've been brought here for a purpose, one that you will come to understand in time." "A purpose? I just want to go home. I have a job, friends, a life," Aiden protested, his initial awe turning into frustration. Merthin nodded, his expression sympathetic but firm. "Many have felt as you do now, Aiden. But the pull of destiny is not easily denied. This world needs you, and whether you feel ready or not, it has chosen you." Aiden looked around again, the beauty of the place undercut by the enormity of what was being asked of him. He felt small, unprepared, and utterly lost. "So what now? If I'm stuck here, what am I supposed to do?" Aiden asked, a resigned edge to his voice. "Now," Merthin said, stepping closer and extending a hand. You learn. You grow. You become the hero that Elisareth needs. And it starts with understanding the power that brought you here. Reluctantly, Aiden took Merthen's hand. The moment he did, a rush of warmth filled him. Visions of potential futures flashing before his eyes. Battles, creatures, allies, and enemies. It was overwhelming, but also invigorating. I don't understand all this, but I'll try. What choice do I have? Aiden finally said, a newfound resolve settling in. That is the spirit, Merthen replied with a smile. Come, let us begin your journey. There is much to learn, and time, while seemingly abundant, has a way of slipping by unnoticed. Aiden's feet settled on the unfamiliar, vibrant grass as he scanned the alien landscape. The surreal beauty was overwhelming, towering crystal spires in the distance, a sky painted with shades of purple and amber, and peculiar plants that seemed to hum softly in the gentle breeze. Before he could absorb more, a voice broke his reverie. Taken it all in yet, or should I give you a few more seconds? The speaker was a small, winged creature floating before him, its body shimmering in the sunlight. Aiden blinked, his mouth open. Who are you? The creature giggled, a sound like the tinkling of tiny bells. I'm Zephyr. And you, Aiden, have landed in the world of Elisareth. A land of magic, wonder, and a bit of danger, just to keep things interesting. Elisareth. So it wasn't a dream. Aiden looked around, still trying to come to terms with the reality of his situation. Why am I here? This must be a mistake. No mistake, Aiden. You're chosen, special even among the special. Not everyone gets yanked from their cozy life to here. You know. Zephyr zipped around him, buzzing with an energy that was infectious. Chosen for what? I'm just an average guy. I'm not special. Aiden's protest was weak, his gaze locked on the incredible sight of a floating island drifting lazily across the horizon. But that's where you're wrong. You have potential. Great potential. The kind that could change the fate of worlds. Zephyr hovered in front of him, serious now. Change the fate of worlds? Look, I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. I can't be this person you need. Aiden's voice was a mix of frustration and disbelief. That's what they all say at first. But let's not dawdle on the existential. You need to be prepared, trained, and ready to face what's coming. Zephyr's tone shifted towards urgency. What's coming? Aiden asked, a knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. Challenges, conflicts, and creatures that you've only seen in your video games or nightmares. But let's start with the basics. Zephyr's playful tone returned as it began to float away. Wait, Aiden called out, jogging slightly to keep up with the swift creature. Where are we going? To meet someone who can help you understand your role here, and maybe teach you a few tricks. Zephyr called back, leading him toward the grove that glowed with an ethereal light. As they approached, a figure emerged from the light, a tall, willowy being with skin that seemed woven from the night sky, stars twinkling across their surface. This is Lyra, one of the wise ones of the Elven Council. Lyra. Zephyr performed a small bow, which Aiden awkwardly tried to mimic. Welcome, Aiden. Your arrival has been foretold in our chronicles. Lyra's voice was calm and melodious, resonating with a warmth that eased some of Aiden's tension. Foretold? You know I was coming? Aiden's confusion deepened. Yes, for many cycles. The prophecies described one from another world who would rise to challenge the darkness that creeps at the edges of our realms. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes reflecting the cosmos. I'm supposed to fight darkness? I don't even know how to fight, Aiden said, his voice a blend of awe and exasperation. That is why you shall train. Learn the ways of magic and combat. We do not expect you to face these trials unprepared. Lyra extended her hand, and from it sprouted a small flame that danced between her fingers. Magic? Is that real here? Aiden reached out, mesmerized by the flickering flame. Very real, and very necessary. Your first lesson begins now. Lyra closed her hand, and the flame vanished. But first, you must understand the nature of this world. Aiden followed Lyra and Zephyr into the grove, where the air seemed thick with power. Elisareth is a nexus of dimensions, a meeting point of many realities. It is both beautiful and dangerous, Lyra explained, her voice echoing slightly in the open space. And these prophecies, they just say I'm the hero. What if you got the wrong guy? What if I can't do what you expect me to? Aiden's questions poured out, fueled by a mix of skepticism and fear. The prophecies speak of one marked by the stars, brought here at the convergence of desperate times. You were brought here by the vortex at such a time, Lyra said, gesturing towards the sky where a single star seemed to pulse brighter than the others. Marked by the stars? I don't see any marks on me. Aiden examined his arms, half joking. Not literal marks, Aiden. It's a metaphor for your unique position in the cosmos, your destiny intertwining with that of Elisareth. Lyra's explanation was gentle, trying to ease his incredulity. Destiny. Right. So, how do I start this magic training? Do I get a wand or something? Aiden's attempt at humor masked his nervousness. No wands needed here. You will learn to channel the energies of the world, to command the elements, and to awaken the powers within you. Lyra clasped her hands together, and the ground beneath them glowed softly. Awaken powers within me. Right. How do we start? Aiden asked, his curiosity piqued despite his doubts. First, you must clear your mind, connect with the world around you. Feel the pulse of the earth, the warmth of the air, the moisture of the clouds. Lyra closed her eyes, a model of concentration. Aiden tried to mimic her, closing his eyes and taking a deep breath. I don't feel much, just the breeze. Patience, Aiden. This is just the beginning. You will learn in time. For now, let us continue your introduction to this world. There is much you need to see, much you need to understand. Lyra opened her eyes, smiling encouragingly. Okay, I'll try. Lead the way, Lyra, and maybe explain who or what I'm supposed to be fighting. Aiden's resolve firmed up, bolstered by Lyra's calm confidence. That, Aiden, is a longer story. For now, know this, the darkness you will face is not just of creatures and chaos, but of power, corruption, and the very essence of malice. And to defeat it, you must become stronger, wiser, and more courageous than you ever thought possible. Lyra turned, leading him deeper into the grove, the path lit by luminescent flowers. Aiden followed Lyra deeper into the grove, the soft glow of bioluminescent plants lighting their path. The surreal beauty of Ellis Earth was all around him, but his mind wrestled with his new reality. So, let me get this straight, Aiden began, breaking the silence. I've been brought here to fight some sort of cosmic darkness because a prophecy said so? Yes, exactly, Lyra confirmed, her voice serene as they walked. And it's not just any darkness. It's a creeping corruption that threatens to unravel the very fabric of our worlds. Aiden stopped, rubbing his temples. Okay, corruption, darkness, worlds, plural. This is a lot. How am I supposed to fight this? I mean, I'm not a warrior or a mage or anything. Lyra turned, her starlit eyes meeting his. You will learn, Aiden. You have inherent abilities. You simply haven't accessed them yet. We will help you, Aiden sighed, resuming his walk. And these abilities, how do we unlock them? Through training, understanding, and connecting deeply with Ellis Earth itself, Lyra explained. They approached a clearing where a small waterfall cascaded into a crystal-clear pond. The sound of the water was soothing, yet Aiden felt anything but calm. So, I connect with the land and poof? Magic? Aiden asked, trying to keep the skepticism out of his tone. Lyra smiled gently. Not poof, but yes, through connection. Let me show you. She gestured for him to come closer to the pond. Look into the water and tell me what you see. Aiden peered into the pond, seeing his reflection staring back. I see myself, that's all. Now, close your eyes and feel the world around you. Feel its energy, Lyra instructed. Aiden closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. He focused on the sounds of the waterfall, the rustling leaves, the soft hum of the glowing plants. Slowly, he felt something, a warm, tingling sensation in his fingertips. Good, Lyra's voice was close. Now, open your eyes. He did, and gasped. The pond's surface glowed with a gentle light, ripples emanating from where he imagined his reflection would be. What is? How? Aiden stuttered, his eyes wide. You are seeing the energy of Ellis Earth, responding to your presence, your essence, Lyra explained. This is just the beginning. So, I'm really doing this. I'm really connecting. Aiden looked up at her, a mix of amazement and fear in his eyes. Yes, you are. And you'll learn to harness this connection. To use it, Lyra reached out, her hand resting briefly on his shoulder in reassurance. Aiden took another long look at the pond, then back at Lyra. What else can I expect? What other kinds of training? Much more. Combat, strategy, history of our lands, understanding the creatures you'll face, and the allies you'll make, Lyra listed, turning to walk back through the grove. Allies? Who else will help me? Aiden hurried to keep up with her brisk pace. The races of Ellis Earth are many, and though divided by past conflicts, many will see the benefit of your cause. Elves, dwarves, humans, even some of the more civilized orc tribes. Lyra led him down a narrow path lined with flowering vines. Orcs? Civilized? Aiden chuckled nervously. Some, yes. Just as with humans, there are good and bad among them, Lyra said, giving him a pointed look. Right, sorry. Stereotyping, even in other worlds, Aiden mused, shaking his head. They reached another part of the grove, where a large, flat stone sat surrounded by ancient trees. Here's where you will spend much of your time, Lyra stated. This stone is an ancient training ground, used by heroes of past eras to hone their skills. Heroes, and now me. Aiden ran his hand over the smooth stone, feeling its cool surface. It's hard to believe. You must believe, Aiden. Believe in yourself, in the prophecy, in us who trust in you, Lyra said, her voice stern yet encouraging. I'll try. I'll do more than try. I'll do it. I have to, right? Aiden looked up at her, determination beginning to replace his earlier doubts. That's the spirit, Lyra smiled. Tomorrow, your training begins in earnest. For now, rest. You'll need your strength. Rest? Right. In this world, where do I even sleep? Aiden asked, looking around. Follow me. Lyra led him to a small cottage nestled among the trees, covered in moss and with a roof that seemed almost alive with small, flowering plants. You'll stay here. It's safe, and it will respond to your needs. My needs? Aiden raised an eyebrow as he followed her inside. The cottage is enchanted. It will provide food, warmth, and comfort. Try to relax and clear your mind. The better your mental state, the more responsive the magic will be. Lyra showed him around the small space, which seemed to glow softly from within, creating a calming atmosphere. Thank you, Lyra, for all of this. I still don't fully understand it, but I appreciate your help, Aiden said, feeling a weight lift slightly with the understanding that he wasn't alone in this. You are welcome, Aiden. Remember, you are not just fighting for us, but for yourself as well. You are part of Elisareth now, and it is part of you, Lyra said, stepping out of the cottage. Aiden watched her leave, then turned to explore the cottage. As he settled into a surprisingly comfortable chair, he looked out the window at the star-filled sky of this strange new world, pondering the future. Part of me, huh? He whispered to himself. Let's see what that means. Aiden's first morning in Elisareth began with a sharp, cold breeze that hinted at the day's trials. He strode from his cottage, driven by a mixture of curiosity and the pressing need to understand this world. The landscape was unfamiliar, a canvas of vibrant colors and sounds that were both enchanting and intimidating. He had barely walked a few minutes when the sudden clash of metal jolted him out of his reverie. Drawing closer with caution, he discovered a small clearing where a group of orcs, armed and quarrelsome, were gathered in a heated dispute. Stay back, whispered Zephyr, who had silently followed him. Orcs can be unpredictable. Aiden nodded, hiding behind a large tree as he watched the scene unfold. The largest orc, a towering brute with scars crisscrossing his face, was clearly the leader, gesticulating wildly and barking orders. I say we attack now. Elves won't expect it, the leader bellowed, slamming his fist into his open palm. No, you fool. We need plan, more warriors. Another orc retorted, his voice rough and strained. Their argument grew louder, the tension palpable. Aiden's heart raced. He knew he should retreat, but found himself transfixed by their savage diplomacy. Silence, both of you, roared the leader, drawing a massive sword that glinted ominously in the morning light. We go at sundown. Gather the warriors. Look what we have here. A spy, shouted a younger orc, pointing directly at Aiden's hiding spot. Aiden's blood froze. He'd been too absorbed to notice the scout who had flanked him. I'm not spying. Aiden started, stepping out with his hands raised in a peaceful gesture. Human, in our territory, the leader growled, advancing with purpose. Kill him. Wait, no harm, Aiden pleaded, backing away as the group approached, their weapons ready. Human lies. Humans always lie, another orc snarled, drawing a wicked-looking axe. Aiden stumbled backward, his mind racing for any useful spell Lyra had taught him, but panic clouded his memory. Please, listen. I'm new here. I don't know your rules, your lands. I'm just lost. Aiden's voice cracked as the orcs formed a semicircle around him. No mercy for spies, the leader declared, raising his sword. Aiden dodged just in time as the sword swung down, the air whistling as the blade missed him by inches. Zephyr, help, Aiden shouted, ducking another blow. Fighting must be your choice, Aiden. Use what you've learned, Zephyr called out, hovering at a safe distance. Aiden breathed deeply, trying to recall his training. He chanted a spell, the words clumsy on his tongue. A small gust of wind erupted, startling the orcs but doing little else. They're not going to listen. Zephyr, Aiden cried out, narrowly avoiding an axe. Try again. Focus, Zephyr encouraged. Aiden repeated the spell, this time with more force. The wind whipped around, stronger and more directed. It pushed the nearest orc back, buying Aiden a moment's respite. Magic, one of the orcs exclaimed, momentarily wary. Yes, and there's more if you force me. Aiden bluffed, his heart pounding as he prepared for another spell. The leader hesitated, then sneered. Kill him quick, before he casts again. As they rushed him, Aiden tried another spell, one meant to create a blinding flash. The words fumbled from his lips in his rush, and the resulting light was dimmer than he hoped. Blinded only briefly, the orcs roared in anger and confusion. Aiden took the chance to run, but a heavy hand caught his shoulder, spinning him around to face the snarling leader. No more running, human. The orc spat, lifting Aiden off the ground. Struggling, Aiden felt the real, visceral fear of death. I don't want to die here, he gasped, the orc's grip tightening. Then you shouldn't have come. The leader threw Aiden down, and he hit the ground hard, pain radiating through every bone. As he tried to crawl away, a sharp pain exploded in his back. Looking down, he saw the tip of a sword protruding from his chest. Aiden gasped, his vision dimming as he fell forward onto the grass, the world fading to black. Reset, he whispered, the word a mere puff of air as darkness took him. Aiden's world spiraled into darkness. a heavy silence enveloping him as the brutal reality of his first death settled in. Yet, instead of an eternal void, a familiar sensation of ground beneath him stirred his senses. Eyes fluttering open, he gasped for air, clutching at the grass, alive and unscathed. Back at the beginning. How is this possible? Aiden murmured, bewildered and shaken, sitting up to find himself at the very spot where he first entered Elisareth. Zephyr flitted into view, its tiny wings beating a soothing rhythm. Aiden, you're back. How do you feel? I died, didn't I? I felt everything, Aiden replied, his voice trembling as he touched his chest, expecting a wound, but finding none. Yes, you died, and yes, you felt it. That's how the loop works. Every death is real, but you come back here, every time, Zephyr explained gently. Aiden stood, his legs shaky. I can't believe I have to go through that again. Is there no way to avoid dying? Not in this world, not with what you're facing. You must learn from each encounter. Let's analyze what happened, Zephyr suggested, floating closer to his face. Aiden took a deep breath, nodding as the immediate shock began to fade. All right, let's talk it through. I tried to use magic, but I was too slow, and my spells weren't strong enough. Correct. Magic here isn't just about the strength of the spell, but also your willpower and intent. You were scared, understandably so. Fear can disrupt your focus, making spells weaker, Zephyr said, circling Aiden thoughtfully. So, I need to control my fear, focus my intent more. But how can I practice if every failure means death? Aiden asked, frustration edging his voice. You'll get better with each loop. Think of each death not as an end, but as a learning step. Next time, you might dodge quicker, cast faster, think sharper. You evolve with each reset, Zephyr replied optimistically. I suppose. It still doesn't make the idea of dying again any more appealing, Aiden admitted, looking down at his hands, considering the strange, terrifying power he was beginning to understand. Let's try a small spell now. Something simple. Pick a target and focus, Zephyr instructed, pointing towards a small rock nearby. Aiden nodded and focused on the rock, trying to recall the incantation Lyra had taught him. He extended his hand, his voice more confident as he spoke the words of power. A small spark flew from his fingertips, striking the rock and leaving a scorch mark. See, better already. You're calmer now, more controlled. That's good progress, Zephyr clapped, its tiny hands producing a silvery sound. Thanks, Zephyr. I need to keep improving, faster. I can't keep dying. I need to survive, Aiden said, a determined glint in his eye. Exactly the spirit you need. But remember, Aiden, it's not just about survival. You're here to learn, to grow, and eventually, to conquer. You have a destiny in Elisareth, one that's bigger than just staying alive, Zephyr reminded him. Conquer. Right. The prophecy, the corruption. I'm here to fight something much bigger than a band of orcs, Aiden mused, his resolve hardening. Indeed. And every creature, every challenge in this world is a step toward that greater battle. You're not just fighting for your life. You're fighting for all of Elisareth, Zephyr said, floating up to look him directly in the eyes. Aiden took a deep, steadying breath. Then let's prepare for the next encounter. I need to be ready. Teach me more spells, more combat skills. I can't afford to be caught off guard again. Good. Let's start with enhancing your reflexes and then move on to more complex spells. You'll need a versatile arsenal if you're to face what lies ahead, Zephyr agreed, leading the way back towards the safety of the grove. As they walked, Aiden felt a newfound determination surging within him. Each step, each breath he took was a reaffirmation of his commitment, not just to survive, but to thrive and fulfill his mysterious, destined role in this magical, menacing world. All right, Zephyr, let's get to work. I'm ready to learn, ready to fight. No more running, no more fear, Aiden declared, stepping into the training area with a firm resolve. Excellent. Let's begin, Zephyr replied, and the air around them crackled with the promise of burgeoning power and forthcoming challenges. Aiden stood in the exact spot where he had first materialized in Elisareth, his mind racing with the implications of the time loop. Zephyr hovered nearby, its wings fluttering gently in the crisp air. So, every time I die, I come back here? Just like that, Aiden asked, still grappling with the concept. Exactly. Each death is a reset, an opportunity to learn from your mistakes and try again. It's both a curse and a blessing, Zephyr explained. Aiden paced a small circle in the grass, his footsteps deliberate. It feels more like a curse right now, to experience death over and over, knowing it's coming but unable to stop it. It's daunting, I know. But you're not alone in this. I'm here to guide you, and there are others who will join you on your journey, Zephyr reassured him. Aiden stopped pacing and faced Zephyr. What should I do differently next time? I need strategies, not just reassurances. Let's consider your encounter. You engage directly with the orcs without understanding their tactics or numbers. Next time, observe more before jumping into action. Use your environment to your advantage, Zephyr suggested. Right. Use the environment. Maybe I could have led them into a narrower part of the forest, bottlenecked their numbers. Aiden pondered, thinking through the tactics. Exactly. Limit their ability to surround you. And remember, your magic can be used for more than direct attacks. Think defensively as well, Zephyr added. Aiden nodded, taking a deep breath. Defensive magic. I guess I could try crafting barriers, or maybe some kind of diversion. Precisely. Let's practice a simple barrier spell. Repeat after me, Zephyr said, and began to recite a series of complex words. Aiden focused, repeating the incantation carefully, feeling the air around him thicken and shimmer as he formed a weak, flickering shield in front of him. Not bad for a first try. You'll get stronger with practice, Zephyr encouraged. I need to be quick about this. How much time do I have before things escalate? Aiden asked, concerned about the timeline. The darkness is growing every day. You'll feel it too. Storms, strange behaviors in the wildlife, more aggressive enemies. Time is of essence, but panic won't help, Zephyr explained. Aiden absorbed this, his expression somber. I'll need to train hard, then. Every moment counts. What's the best way to prepare for my next encounter? Besides physical and magical training, you should also understand your enemies. Study the creatures of Elisera. Knowledge can be as powerful as any spell, Zephyr advised. Right. Knowledge. Where can I learn more about these creatures? Is there a library or someone knowledgeable about the wildlife here? Aiden inquired, eager to learn. We'll visit the Great Library of Eldoria. It holds records of all known species and histories of Elisera. Plus, the librarians there are scholars of the arcane and natural worlds. They can provide guidance. Zephyr outlined the plan. That sounds perfect. When do we leave? Aiden asked, ready to take action. First light tomorrow. For today, continue practicing your spells. I'll also teach you some basic survival skills that might come in handy, Zephyr replied. Okay, let's get to it. No time to waste, Aiden said, determination setting into his features. The rest of the day was spent in rigorous training. Aiden practiced his spells until the words no longer felt foreign on his lips, and his movements began to align with the magical energies he was trying to harness. Zephyr taught him how to camouflage himself with the environment, move silently, and observe without being observed. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Aiden felt exhausted but empowered. He was beginning to understand the rhythm of this world and his place within it. Zephyr, thanks for today. I feel more prepared, less afraid, Aiden admitted as they walked back to the cottage. That's the spirit, Aiden. Fear is natural, but courage is choosing to act in spite of it. You're doing just that, Zephyr said, its voice warm with pride. Aiden looked up at the stars emerging in the twilight sky, their light steady and reassuring. Tomorrow, I learn even more. And I'll keep learning until I can change things here. Until I can end this loop. You will, Aiden. I believe in you, Zephyr affirmed, fluttering beside him as they reached the cottage. Belief is a good start. Now, let's turn it into reality, Aiden said, stepping inside to rest, ready for the challenges of tomorrow. Aiden had barely taken his first sips of the morning brew when the stillness of dawn was shattered by a voice that seemed to come from the very air around him. Aiden Rowley, boomed the voice, deep and omnipresent, causing Aiden to spill his drink in surprise. You've awoken not just in a new world, but into a new reality of your making. Aiden set his cup down and stood up, scanning his surroundings, trying to locate the source of the voice. Who are you? Where are you? I am known as the creator, the architect of this realm and the designer of the trials you will face, the voice responded, its tone grandiose and echoing through the trees. The trials I will face? What trials? I didn't agree to any of this. Aiden's voice was a mix of anger and confusion. The agreement was made the moment you stepped into Elisera. Here, you are bound by the game's rules, a game that tests more than your strength. It tests your very will to persevere, explained the creator. A game? This is no game to me. People's lives, their reality. This is real, Aiden protested, feeling a rush of frustration. Indeed, it is real. And yet, it is a game by another measure, one with rules, challenges, and endings both triumphant and tragic, the creator stated methodically. What are these rules? If I'm to play this game, I need to know what I'm up against, Aiden demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. Firstly, you must survive. Every time you fall, you will return here to start anew. This is your curse and your blessing, the voice elaborated. Survive. Okay, what else? Aiden asked, taking a deep breath to steady his nerves. You must learn. The secrets of Elisera are many, and only by understanding them can you hope to master the challenges ahead, continued the creator. And the last rule? Aiden pressed, his mind racing with the implications of each word. You must evolve. Only through change of your mind, your strategies, and your understanding of power will you find the path to victory, concluded the creator. And if I refuse to play your game? What then? Aiden challenged, crossing his arms. There is no refusal in Elisera. To live is to play, and to play is to live. The moment you arrived, you became a player in this grand design, the voice said, a finality in its tone that brooked no argument. Aiden paused, absorbing the gravity of his situation. What happens if I win? What's the endgame here? Victory brings ascension, knowledge, power, and understanding beyond your current comprehension. But be warned, the path is perilous, and many have failed where they thought they would succeed, warned the Creator. Failed. How many others have there been before me? Aiden asked, a chill running down his spine. Many. Some have succumbed to despair, others to madness. A rare few have glimpsed the threshold of victory, only to fall at the final hurdle, the voice said, its tone softening slightly, as if in pity. Aiden clenched his fists, feeling a mix of fear and determination. I will not fall. I will learn your rules, play your game, and I will win. That is the spirit required to survive Elisareth. Remember, Aiden rallied, every challenge is an opportunity, and every failure is a lesson. Grow stronger, wiser, and perhaps you will see the dawn of your victory, the Creator said, its voice fading into the morning mist. Thank you for the warm welcome, Aiden muttered sarcastically once the voice had completely vanished. You handled that well, Zephyr finally spoke up, having listened silently to the exchange. It's a lot to process, but you're not alone. We'll navigate this game together. Aiden looked down at Zephyr, managing a strained smile. Together. All right, let's start by understanding these rules better. I have a feeling we're going to need every advantage we can get. Indeed, we will. The library should hold some answers. Are you ready to start this journey? Zephyr asked, its wings fluttering with anticipation. Let's do it. To the library, then, Aiden said, stepping forward with a newfound resolve, ready to tackle whatever this game threw at him. Aiden and Zephyr walked through the dense forest toward the great library of Eldoria. The morning mist had lifted, and the sun now filtered through the leaves, casting dappled patterns on the path. Aiden was deep in thought, digesting the conversation with the Creator, when Zephyr broke the silence. So, you understand the basic structure now, Aiden. Survive, learn, evolve. But there's more to it, Zephyr said, fluttering ahead. More? How much more complicated can this get? Aiden asked, his tone a mix of curiosity and exasperation. Each rule has layers. For instance, survival isn't just about avoiding death. It's about understanding the environments, the creatures, and even the seasons of Elisareth, Zephyr explained. Seasons? There are different seasons here too. Aiden looked around, noticing for the first time the subtle changes in the foliage. Yes, and each season brings its own challenges and advantages. Learning these can be crucial, but let's focus on your immediate need. Learning. The library is a treasure trove of information, Zephyr continued. As they approached a clearing, the magnificent structure of the great library of Eldoria came into view. Its towering spires and ornate carvings spoke of ancient knowledge and secrets waiting to be uncovered. This is incredible, Aiden breathed, his eyes wide as they stepped closer to the library. Indeed, it is, and inside, you'll find the wisdom of ages, which will help you evolve. Remember, evolving isn't just about gaining power. It's about growing as a person, understanding the deeper mechanics of this world, Zephyr said, leading the way up the stone steps. I get that. So, I learn and adapt. But how do I measure my evolution? Is there a sign? A feeling? Aiden asked, following closely. It's often subtle. You might notice a new understanding of magical elements, or you'll find yourself predicting your opponent's moves before they make them. It's a gradual enlightenment, Zephyr replied. As they entered the library, the cool air inside enveloped them, rich with the scent of old books and magic. Aiden looked around in awe, the rows upon rows of books stretching as far as he could see. Where do we even start? Aiden wondered aloud, feeling overwhelmed. Let's start with the basics of magical theory and combat. Then, we can delve into the history of Elisareth to understand your adversaries and potential allies, Zephyr suggested, guiding Aiden down one of the vast aisles. Aiden pulled a book from the shelf titled Elemental Magic in You. He flipped through the pages, absorbing the detailed illustrations and complex descriptions. As you read, try to connect the theories with what you've already experienced. Magic here is very intuitive. It's about feeling as much as it is about knowledge, Zephyr advised, watching him. I can do that. And these challenges the Creator mentioned, am I expected to face them alone? Aiden asked, looking up from the book. Not necessarily. Allies can be powerful. There are many like you, brought here for the trials. Some may have intentions aligned with yours, Zephyr noted. Allies. I like the sound of that. But how do I know who to trust? Aiden's brow furrowed. That will be one of your greatest challenges. Trust must be earned. And sometimes, it's a leap of faith. But I will help you. I have insights into many who you will encounter, Zephyr assured him. Aiden nodded, feeling a bit more confident. All right. Learn, evolve, and maybe find a few friends along the way. I think I can handle that. Good. Remember, each book, each scroll here can offer insights not just into magic or strategy, but into the essence of Elisareth itself. The more you know, the more prepared you'll be for whatever comes your way, Zephyr said, its voice echoing slightly in the quiet of the library. Then let's get to work. I'm ready to learn everything I can, Aiden said, his determination renewed as he turned the page, diving deeper into the mysteries of elemental magic. Aiden and Zephyr sat among the ancient tomes and scrolls that filled the great library of Eldoria, the quiet rustle of pages blending with the occasional creak of the old wooden furniture. Aiden had amassed a small mountain of books on the table before him, ranging from arcane combat techniques to the socio-political structures of Elisareth's myriad creatures. Okay, Zephyr, this one talks about the diplomatic tendencies of the elves and how they've historically managed their alliances. It's fascinating. But how's knowing the politics of elves going to help me? Aiden asked, looking up from the book with a slightly overwhelmed expression. Every piece of knowledge has power here, Aiden. Understanding the elves, for example, could help you negotiate with them, gain their trust, or even anticipate their moves in the game, Zephyr explained, floating over to glance at the text. That makes sense. So, essentially, the more I understand about each race and their history, the better I can navigate my interactions with them? Aiden sought confirmation, his finger tracing a line in the book. Exactly. It's about leveraging knowledge to forge stronger alliances or even avoid conflicts that could drain your resources, Zephyr responded. Aiden nodded thoughtfully, then turned to another book, and this one on magical barriers. It's incredibly detailed. I practiced the basic spells you showed me, but this could really enhance my defensive strategies. Good. Remember, defense is as crucial as offense in survival. Balancing your abilities will be key to overcoming the challenges set by the Creator, Zephyr said, a note of pride in its voice at Aiden's progress. Aiden smiled briefly before his face settled into a mask of determination. I'm starting to understand the depth of what I'm up against. It's daunting, but also, I don't know, exhilarating. I feel like I'm part of something much bigger than myself. That's the spirit of a true challenger. This world, this game, it changes you. It molds you into something greater, if you allow it, Zephyr mused. Aiden's eyes then caught the sight of a map spread across the table. He pointed to a marked area. This place here, marked as the Dark Forest, seems to be a significant location. The book mentions it as a place of great power and danger. Yes, the Dark Forest. Many have ventured there seeking power, few have returned. It's said that the forest itself is alive, and not all who enter have pure intentions, Zephyr added, its tone serious. Sounds like somewhere I'll eventually have to go, Aiden said, his fingers drumming on the table. Most likely, yes, but let's hope when that time comes, you'll be ready. For now, focus on building your foundation, magic, combat, alliances, and understanding the rules of the game, Zephyr advised. Aiden took a deep breath, then stood up, stretching his legs. I've learned a lot today, more than I thought possible. But it's just scratching the surface, isn't it? It is, but every day, with every bit of knowledge and every challenge, you'll grow stronger. Trust in yourself, Aiden. Trust in the journey, Zephyr reassured him. Trust in the journey, Aiden repeated, rolling the words over in his mind. He packed up several books into his bag, preparing to leave the library. Tomorrow, I continue learning. But also, I think it's time to start applying some of this. Practicing outside these walls, in the real world of Elisareth. That's the spirit. Let's head back and prepare. You'll need rest. And tomorrow, we test your new skills in the field, Zephyr said, leading the way out of the library. As they exited the grand doors of the library, the setting sun cast long shadows over the land, and the air felt charged with magic. Aiden looked back at the towering spires of the library, then forward along the path that led into the heart of Elisareth. Into the heart of the game, Aiden muttered to himself, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. With each step, he felt more connected to this land, more resolved to uncover its secrets and discover his role in its destiny. Ready, Zephyr? Aiden asked, his voice stronger now, infused with newfound confidence and determination. Always, Zephyr replied, the tiny creature glowing slightly in the twilight, a beacon of guidance and hope. Aiden wandered deeper into the forest, the light dimming as the canopy thickened above him. The air was humid, carrying the rich, earthy scent of moss and decay. Intent on practicing the navigation skills Zephyr had taught him, he didn't notice the fog rolling in until the woods were shrouded in mist. Zephyr, I think I might have taken a wrong turn somewhere, Aiden called out, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Before Zephyr could answer, a voice echoed through the trees, startling Aiden with its clarity. Lost are we, young traveler? Aiden spun around, searching for the source. A figure emerged from the mist, an old elf with a long, silver beard and eyes that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. He leaned on a twisted staff, his cloak blending seamlessly with the fog. Who are you? Aiden asked, his hand instinctively reaching for the dagger at his belt. No need for weapons, no harm. My name is Farron, a hermit of these woods. You seem far from your path, the elf said, his voice calm and soothing. I was practicing my navigation, but this fog. Aiden's voice trailed off as he looked around, disoriented by the dense mist. The fog could be treacherous here, misleading even to those familiar with these paths. Come, let me guide you to safety, Farron offered, turning to lead the way. Aiden hesitated but realized he had little choice. Thank you. I appreciate your help. As they walked, Farron spoke softly. These woods are alive, not just with creatures and plants, but with the very essence of magic. One must be attuned to survive. How do you mean, attuned? Aiden asked, curious despite his wariness. The forest speaks to those who listen. The wind, the earth beneath your feet, even the fog tells a story. Learn to listen, and you will navigate much more than just your path, Farron explained, his steps silent on the leafy floor. That sounds useful. I've tried to learn some magic, but it's been more about control than listening, Aiden confessed. Ah, but control is only half of the skill. Magic is a dialogue, not a monologue. You must give as well as take, Farron said, stopping to face Aiden. Let me show you. Farron extended his hand, and the air around them seemed to still. Slowly, the fog began to lift, swirling mysteriously around Farron's fingers before dispersing. Try to feel the fog, not just see it. Close your eyes, Farron instructed. Aiden closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and focused. At first, all he felt was the chill dampness of the fog. But slowly, he sensed a subtle flow, a gentle guidance from the old elf's magic. Now, guide it, gently, as if asking it to move, not forcing it. Farron's voice was a whisper, yet clear in Aiden's mind. Aiden imagined the fog rolling away, visualizing the path clearing. Gradually, he felt something shift, a slight give in the air pressure. He opened his eyes to see small patches of fog starting to thin out. Very good, Aiden. You have a natural affinity for this. Remember, magic is as much about harmony with nature as it is about bending it to your will, Farron praised, smiling warmly. Aiden felt a rush of pride mixed with newfound respect for the subtleties of magic. Thank you, Farron. I've never thought of it that way before. The best lessons are often found when we least expect them. Come, let us find a place where I can teach you more about survival, the kind that will serve you well beyond these woods, Farron said, leading Aiden further into the forest. Once inside Farron's quaint woodland cottage, Aiden observed the elf gathering various herbs and roots from neatly organized shelves. The space was cozy, filled with the aroma of dried lavender and sage, and the walls were lined with books and ancient scrolls. First lesson, Aiden, is the art of healing and sustenance from nature, Farron began, placing several different herbs on the wooden table. This, he pointed to a vibrant green leaf, is heel root. Chew it for quick wound healing. Aiden picked up the leaf, examining it closely. Does it work on all wounds? Most minor ones, yes. For more severe injuries, a poultice can be made. But remember, knowing when to use each herb is as crucial as knowing what they do, Farron advised, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. I see. And these others? Aiden gestured to the array of herbs. This one, Farron picked up a darker leaf, is nightshade. It's poisonous, but in controlled doses, it can be used to dull pain or induce sleep. Aiden nodded, carefully noting the differences between the herbs. It seems there's a fine line between medicine and poison. Exactly. Nature's balance. Respect that balance, and it will serve you well, Farron replied, then moved to a small cauldron simmering over the fire. Now, for a lesson in elemental magic. Aiden followed eagerly, watching as Farron whispered an incantation. The water inside the cauldron responded, bubbling more vigorously. Controlling elements requires harmony between your will and the natural world. Try it. Place your hand over the cauldron and imagine the water simmering down, Farron instructed. Aiden extended his hand, focusing intently. He envisioned the boiling water calming down. His mind's eye seemed the bubbles receding. Slowly, the water began to settle, responding to his will. Well done! You're a natural, Farron praised. The key is not to force your will upon the elements, but to coax them, blend your energy with theirs. Aiden pulled his hand back, a satisfied grin spreading across his face. This is incredible. It feels like a partnership with nature. That's exactly right, Farron nodded approvingly. Now, let's discuss stealth and awareness in the forest. They stepped outside into the dwindling light of dusk. Farron led Aiden to a densely wooded area behind the cottage. Stealth isn't just about being quiet. It's about becoming a part of the environment. Watch closely. Farron disappeared into the underbrush. His movements were subtle, almost imperceptible. After a few moments, he called out, "Now you try." Move through the brush without disturbing it. Aiden attempted to mimic Farron's movements, focusing on placing his feet gently, avoiding twigs and leaves. Initially, he made a slight rustling, but with Farron's guidance, his steps became softer, more deliberate. Better, Farron commented as Aiden emerged. Remember, the forest feels every step you take. Move with respect, and it will hide you from many dangers. As they walked back to the cottage, Farron continued. One last lesson for today. Camouflage. This paint, he held up a small jar, is made from local clays and plants. It masks your scent and breaks up your outline. Aiden watched as Farron applied streaks of the dark paint on his arms and face. This will help you blend in, not just visually but also scent-wise, a crucial skill for both hunting and hiding. Seems I have much to learn about moving through this world, Aiden remarked, taking the jar to apply some paint to himself. Indeed, but you learn quickly. With these skills, you'll survive and thrive in Elisera. Remember, every lesson builds on the last. Keep practicing, and soon these skills will become second nature. Farron encouraged, cleaning up the remnants of their lesson. Aiden nodded, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Thank you, Farron. Today's lessons have been invaluable. How can I ever repay you? Share your knowledge with others who need it, and respect the balance of nature. That is payment enough, Farron replied, his voice earnest. Back inside Farron's cottage, the warmth of the hearth and the soft glow of candlelight created a serene atmosphere, a stark contrast to the darkening forest outside. Farron resumed the lesson with a focus on deeper magical concepts. Now that you've grasped the basics of elemental manipulation, let's discuss how to sustain these effects, which is crucial for longer engagements or complex tasks. Farron began, arranging several small stones in a circle on the table. Aiden leaned in, intrigued. How do I sustain an effect? It feels like holding my breath. The moment I stop concentrating, the magic dissipates. That's a common challenge for beginners. Magic is like breathing, indeed, but think of sustaining magic more like breathing during exercise. You adapt your breath to the needs of your body, rhythmically, consistently, Farron explained. He picked up a stone. Try this. Levitate this stone, but instead of holding it up forcefully, imagine you're weaving the air around it, creating a cushion. Aiden focused, his hand extended towards the stone. Slowly, it lifted, wobbling slightly in the air. He then pictured the air swirling into a soft bed underneath the stone, the image helping him stabilize the levitation. Excellent, Farron nodded. Now, maintain it. Let your magic flow in a steady stream, just like your breath during a jog. Aiden kept his focus, feeling the magic flow more naturally now, less like a burst and more like a wave. The stone remained aloft, steady and sure. Good. Now, while maintaining that, try to move it gently around the circle of stones, Farron instructed, watching closely. Aiden adjusted his focus, moving the stone slowly. It was challenging, but the stone traced a shaky path around the circle. Very well done. With practice, this will become second nature, and you'll be able to manage multiple effects simultaneously, Farron said, a note of approval in his voice. Aiden let the stone down gently. It's like juggling, he said, wiping his brow. It takes concentration and control. Exactly, Farron smiled. Now, for your final lesson tonight, let's discuss the ethical use of magic. Power, as you will learn, is a double-edged sword. Aiden nodded, his expression turning serious. I've seen what uncontrolled power can do. I want to be responsible with the magic I wield. An admirable and essential mindset, Farron said, sitting down across from Aiden. Magic should be used to aid, to solve, and to protect. When you use magic to dominate or destroy, you often erode your own spirit, and the consequences can reach further than you might see. So, use magic as a tool, not a weapon, Aiden summarized, absorbing the gravity of Farron's words. Correct. And always be aware of the impact your magic has on the natural balance. Disrupting one element too drastically can have ripple effects throughout the ecosystem, Farron continued, his voice earnest. I understand. Like everything here, it's about balance and respect, Aiden said, his thoughts turning towards the broader implications of his journey in Elisera. Indeed. Now, rest. You have absorbed much today, and the path ahead will require not just your newly honed skills but also clarity of mind and purpose, Farron concluded, standing to stoke the fire. Aiden stood as well, feeling mentally exhausted but enriched. Thank you, Farron. Today has changed the way I see not just magic, but my place in this world. Farron nodded, offering Aiden a small, respectful bow. It is my honor to guide you. Aiden, sleep well. For tomorrow your journey continues anew. As Aiden prepared for bed in a small room Farron had prepared for him, he reflected on the day's lessons. Each word in practice felt like a piece of armor, fortifying him for the challenges to come. Lying down, he felt a sense of peace, his last thoughts before sleep on how he might use his powers to make a positive difference in Elisera. Aiden stood at the boundary of the elven forest, an expansive sea of ancient trees whose leaves shimmered with an ethereal glow. The air hummed with a quiet energy, as if the forest itself was alive with whispered secrets. Zephyr floated beside him, the little creature's wings beating in a steady rhythm. Remember, respect is key here. The elves are proud and protective of their domain. Aiden nodded, taking a deep breath before stepping over the threshold of intertwining roots that marked the forest's entrance. Almost immediately, he felt the atmosphere change, the air cooler and the scent of pine and wildflowers strong in his nostril. As they ventured deeper, a voice rang out, clear and melodious, stopping them in their tracks. Who enters the sacred woods of the Sylvan Elves uninvited? Aiden turned toward the voice and saw an elf emerging from between two massive oak trees. She moved with grace, her presence commanding yet not threatening, clad in a cloak that blended perfectly with the surrounding foliage. My name is Aiden, and this is Zephyr. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship, Aiden called out, his voice steady despite his nervousness. The elf paused, her sharp gaze assessing Aiden from a distance. Many outsiders claim as much, yet bring naught but trouble. What makes you different, Aiden? I seek to understand and learn, not to exploit or harm. I respect the balance of nature and wish to learn how to protect it, Aiden replied sincerely. The elf considered this for a moment, then stepped closer, her steps barely making a sound on the leaf-covered ground. I am Lyriel, guardian of these woods. Your words carry weight, Aiden, but they are just words. You will be tested. I welcome any test you deem necessary, Aiden said, meeting Lyriel's gaze with a respectful nod. Very well, Lyriel said, turning to lead the way deeper into the forest. Follow me, and keep your senses alert. The forest is ever watchful and does not suffer fools gladly. As they walked, the forest seemed to come alive around them. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dancing patterns on the ground, and the sounds of distant bird calls echoed softly. Lyriel, may I ask about the culture of your people? I am here to learn, and any knowledge you could share would be invaluable, Aiden ventured, eager to break the silence and learn as much as he could. The Sylvan elves are one with the forest. Our magic is drawn from the very essence of nature. We live by the cycles of the earth, the moon, and the stars, Lyriel began, her voice imbued with a hint of pride. Our culture is ancient, our traditions steeped in the preservation of the natural world and the balance of all living things. That sounds profound. I've seen many misuse their power, often at great cost to the world around them. I want to ensure I'm not making the same mistakes, Aiden said, genuinely interested. A wise approach, Lyriel nodded approvingly. Power, especially magical power, must be wielded with care and respect. To us, magic is not merely a tool but a sacred trust. As they continued walking, Lyriel pointed out various plants and their uses, both medicinal and magical. This, she gestured to a small, bright flower, is a starlight blossom. It can heal minor injuries and is also used in several of our rituals. Aiden listened intently, absorbing every word. How do you balance the use of such resources? Ensuring that they are not overharvested must be a challenge. It is a matter of discipline and understanding. We take only what we need and always give something back in return, a practice we call the gift of exchange. It maintains harmony and ensures the forest thrives, Lyriel explained. That's a beautiful way to live, Aiden remarked, deeply impressed by the symbiotic relationship between the elves and their environment. As they approached a clearing bathed in sunlight, Lyriel stopped and turned to Aiden. Here we will conduct your first test. Watch and learn, for you will need to replicate what I show you. As they ventured deeper into the enchanted surroundings, the forest's aura of ancient wisdom seemed to wrap around Aiden, each tree whispering secrets of ages past. Lyriel led with a pace that suggested deep familiarity with every leaf and stone. Tell me, Aiden, Lyriel began, her voice harmonizing with the rustle of leaves. What is your understanding of the natural world? And how do you align yourself with it? Aiden thought for a moment, choosing his words carefully. I see the natural world as a network of lives interconnected, each depending on the other. I believe in respecting this balance, not disrupting it for personal gain. A thoughtful answer, Lyriel nodded slightly. Respect for balance is crucial. Here, our magic is intertwined with nature. It breathes and lives with the forest. When we draw on it, we do so with the intent to preserve, to enhance, not to dominate. How do you ensure that this balance is maintained? Aiden asked, genuinely curious about the practical aspects of such a philosophy. Lyriel gestured towards a cluster of vibrant blue flowers at the base of an oak. Consider the aloria flowers here. They are potent in healing magic but bloom only for a fortnight each year. We harvest just enough to last us until the next bloom, ensuring we do not deplete their essence. That requires great discipline and foresight, Aiden remarked. It does, Lyriel agreed. And it is a discipline born of necessity and respect. The forest provides for us because we honor and protect it. Abuse its gifts, and we would all suffer. Their path now took them by a gentle stream, the water clear and the sound of it flowing over rocks soothing. Lyriel stooped to collect some water in a wooden cup, offering it to Aiden. Drink, for the water here is imbued with the forest's vitality. Aiden accepted the cup, drinking deeply. The water was crisp, refreshing in a way that seemed to invigorate his very soul. That's amazing. I feel energized. The water runs over stones imbued with ancient magics, filtering it naturally and enriching it with energy. We elves believe that the health of the water is a reflection of the health of the entire forest, Lyriel explained. They continued walking, Lyriel pointing out various herbs, trees, and even insects, each with a role in the ecological tapestry of the forest. Now, Aiden, observe these insects, she said, indicating a small swarm of glowing bugs fluttering around a bush. Their light is magical, used in many of our rituals, but we must harvest their essence sparingly, for their numbers are not what they once were. Aiden watched the delicate dance of the insects, their bodies aglow with soft light. It's all about balance and respect, isn't it? Taking only what you need. Exactly, Lyriel confirmed, and understanding that every creature, every plant, every drop of water has a part to play in the greater whole. Their conversation turned to the practical applications of this philosophy. Lyriel explained how the elves harnessed and directed natural energies for healing, growth, and even protection. For instance, she said, picking a small leaf from a bush, this leaf can be used to create a barrier when combined with the right incantations. Would you like to try? Yes, I would, Aiden responded eagerly. Very well. Hold the leaf and close your eyes. Feel the energy of the forest around you, the flow of life from root to canopy. Channel that feeling into the leaf, envisioning a shield of energy protecting all you hold dear, Lyriel instructed. Aiden took the leaf, his concentration deepening as he followed her instructions. He visualized the shield, the energy of the forest flowing through him, infusing the leaf with a soft glow. Now, open your eyes and release the energy, Lyriel said softly. Aiden opened his eyes, the leaf still glowing in his hand. He released the energy, and for a moment, a visible shield shimmered in the air before him, then faded. Incredible, he breathed, a look of wonder on his face. You have a strong affinity for this, Aiden. With practice, you could become quite proficient, Lyriel observed, a trace of respect in her eyes. Thank you, Lyriel. Every moment in this forest teaches me something new about power, responsibility, and harmony, Aiden said, handing back the now dim leaf. As they neared the end of their walk, the canopy opened up, revealing the evening sky beginning to twinkle with stars. Remember, Lyriel said, pausing to look up at the sky, that just as the stars are connected by constellations, so too is all life connected within the forest. Carry this knowledge with you, and use it wisely. I will, Aiden promised. Trust is earned, Aiden, and you are well on your way, Lyriel replied, a smile touching her lips as they walked back towards the heart of the elven forest, under the watchful gaze of the stars. As twilight draped its velvet cloak over the sylvan forest, Lyriel and Aiden continued their walk, now heading toward a sacred site deep within the heart of elvish territory. The air was charged with a gentle magic, the path illuminated by bioluminescent plants that lined their way. Tell me, Aiden, Lyriel began, her voice soft yet carrying clearly through the still air. What is your greatest hope for learning our ways? What do you seek to accomplish with the knowledge we might share with you? Aiden considered her question thoughtfully before responding. I wish to protect those who cannot protect themselves, to prevent the kind of suffering I've seen caused by those who wield power without wisdom or restraint. Lyriel nodded approvingly. A noble goal, it is the same principle that guides us. Power should serve a purpose beyond the self. Here, we use our strength to maintain balance and harmony within the forest and beyond. Their path led them to a clearing where the trees parted to reveal a circle of standing stones, each carved with intricate runes. The air here felt older, deeper, saturated with ancient magic. This is one of our oldest sanctuaries, Lyriel explained as they approached the center of the circle. Here, we perform rituals that strengthen the bond between our people and the forest. Would you like to witness some of our magic? I would be honored, Aiden replied, his voice filled with genuine reverence. Lyriel guided him to stand in the center of the circle, where the energy felt strongest. She then stepped back, beginning a chant in the elvish tongue. The runes on the stones began to glow softly, casting a warm light over the area. As she chanted, the environment responded. The wind whispered through the leaves, carrying the scent of flowers and earth. The glow from the stones grew brighter, converging in the center where Aiden stood. He felt a warmth spreading through him, not just a physical warmth, but a deep, spiritual infusion of peace and strength. The magic of our forest is not just in the power it grants, but in the unity it fosters, Lyriel said, her voice now part of the living hum around them. We live by this unity, and we defend it with our lives. Aiden felt the truth of her words resonate within him, a harmonious blend of his own intentions and the forest's ancient wisdom. This is incredible, he murmured, feeling more connected to the forest and its inhabitants than he had ever felt to any place before. As you feel this connection now, so too must you remember it when you face challenges, Lyriel continued, her eyes locked on his. The forest is with you, as long as you hold true to your purpose. The light from the stones slowly faded, and the chanting ceased, leaving only the natural sounds of the night. Lyriel walked back to Aiden, her expression solemn but kind. You have shown great respect and willingness to learn, Aiden. Our trust in you grows, and with it, our hope that you will use what you learned to make a difference, she said, extending her hand to him. Aiden took her hand, feeling a pact being made, not just between two individuals, but between cultures, between species. I will do everything in my power to honor this trust in the sacred knowledge you've shared, he vowed. Lyriel nodded, a slight smile curving her lips. I believe you will. You may return here whenever you need guidance, or simply peace. As they walked back through the forest towards the edge where Aiden would depart, he felt changed, not just by the magic he had witnessed, but by the responsibility he had accepted. This forest, and Lyriel's trust, had bestowed upon him a profound duty, not just to learn, but to apply that learning in ways that upheld the values he had been taught. "Thank you, Lyriel, for everything," Aiden said as they reached the boundary of the forest. "May your journey be as enlightening as your spirit is willing," Lyriel responded, giving him a final nod before disappearing back into the forest, leaving Aiden to ponder the depth of his new connection with the sylvan elves and the path it would set him upon. Aiden was meandering along the fringes of the elven forest, still absorbing the depth of the lessons learned from Lyriel, when the tranquility of the morning was abruptly shattered. The clanging of metal and harsh shouts broke through the serene sounds of the forest. "What's that noise?" Aiden asked, tension gripping his voice as he hurried toward the commotion with Zephyr buzzing anxiously beside him. As they approached, they saw a group of dwarves charging toward an elven outpost, weapons drawn, faces set in grim determination. The elves, taken by surprise, were hastily mobilizing to defend their ground. "Zephyr, find Lyriel. Tell her what's happening," Aiden said, as he drew closer to the skirmish. Before Zephyr could dart away, an elf recognized Aiden from his recent visit and called out, "Aiden, we need your help. Defend the eastern flank." Without a second thought, Aiden ran to the indicated direction, drawing the dagger he had been practicing with. Positioning himself beside a young elf who was knocking arrows with shaking hands, he asked, "What's going on?" "Why are the dwarves attacking?" "They want to expand their mines into the forest. This outpost stands on a ley line. It would be disastrous if they took it," the elf explained quickly, releasing an arrow that found its mark. Aiden nodded, understanding the stakes. He centered himself, recalling the defensive spells Lyriel had taught him. Extending his hands, he began to chant, focusing his intent on creating a barrier to shield his new allies. "Stay close. I'll cover this area." As the magical shield sprang up, shimmering faintly in the morning light, the elves behind it found a moment's respite. "Thank you, Aiden. We can hold them here with your help," one elf shouted over the din of battle. Aiden kept his focus on the barrier, strengthening it as dwarven hammers crashed against the magical protection. Each impact sent a shudder through Aiden's arms, but he held firm, channeling his energy to maintain the shield. Suddenly, a grizzled dwarf broke through the line, his axe raised high. Aiden reacted just in time, parrying the axe with his dagger, the force of the blow sending sparks flying. "You won't find welcome here, dwarf." Aiden gritted his teeth, pushing back with surprising strength. "Nor did we expect it, human," the dwarf retorted, swinging his axe again with a bellow. The clash drew the attention of a nearby elf, who quickly joined Aiden, helping to drive the dwarf back. Together, they managed to push the assailant back toward the main fray. "Thanks," Aiden said, nodding to the elf, who nodded back before returning to the archery line. As the battle raged, Aiden moved along the defensive line, reinforcing the barrier where it faltered and assisting the elves in repelling the invaders. With each dwarf repelled, his resolve deepened, driven by the knowledge that the beautiful, ancient forest and its inhabitants were worth defending. As the skirmish intensified, Aiden found himself more deeply involved than he had anticipated. The clashing of metal and the shouts of battle surrounded him, but his focus remained on supporting the elves. "Zephyr, is there any sign of Lyriel?" Aiden called out, ducking a flying axe that embedded itself in the tree behind him. "She's on her way, Aiden. Hold on just a bit longer," Zephyr replied, darting through the chaos. Just then, Lyriel emerged through the trees, her presence like a calm amidst the storm. "Aiden, you are a sight for sore eyes. What's the situation?" "We're holding them off, but just barely. They're pushing hard to break through on the northern edge," Aiden explained, pointing towards the thickest part of the melee. Lyriel nodded sharply. "Follow me. Let's reinforce that line. I have an idea that might turn this in our favor." Together, they rushed to the northern edge, where the elves were struggling to maintain their ground. Lyriel raised her hands, chanting in Elvish. The leaves of the trees began to rustle, and the ground trembled slightly as roots and vines started to weave together, forming barriers that hindered the dwarves' advance. Aiden watched in awe, then remembered his role. "Let me strengthen that with a barrier spell," he shouted over the noise, weaving his own magic into Lyriel's, reinforcing the natural barricade with a shimmering wall of energy. "Perfect, Aiden. Now, let's push them back while they're disoriented," Lyriel commanded, drawing her sword and leading a charge against the now stalling dwarves. Aiden followed, his confidence bolstered by Lyriel's leadership. They moved together, elf and human side by side, pushing against the invaders with a mix of swordplay and magic. "Back to the mines, dwarves! This forest is not yours to ruin," Lyriel yelled, her voice carrying power and determination. The dwarves, caught off guard by the sudden counterattack and the mystical barriers now impeding them, began to falter. Their leader, a stout dwarf with a thick beard and a scar across his face, shouted orders to retreat. "Fall back! Regroup at the ridge," he barked, casting a wary eye at Aiden and Lyriel. As the dwarves retreated, Aiden took a moment to catch his breath, his chest heaving. "We did it, Lyriel. We held them off, for now, yes. But they'll be back, and in greater numbers," Lyriel said, her gaze following the retreating figures. They've tasted defeat today, but they won't give up so easily. What do? We can't let them destroy this place, Aiden said, his concern evident. Lyriel placed a hand on his shoulder, her expression resolute. We prepare, and we strengthen our alliance. Your help today has proven invaluable, Aiden. Will you stand with us if they return? Without hesitation, Aiden nodded. Yes, I'll stand with you, Lyriel, whatever it takes to protect this forest. Lyriel smiled, a rare show of warmth. Thank you, Aiden. With your help, I believe we can preserve our home. Let's go back and plan our defense. We need to be ready. After repelling the dwarf raid, Aiden and Lyriel returned to the heart of the elven outpost, where the elves were busy repairing damages and tending to the few wounded. The air was tense but also filled with a sense of relief and camaraderie. The other elves nodded respectfully at Aiden as he walked by, their expressions a mix of gratitude and newfound respect. As they reached the center of the outpost, Thalion, the elder elf whom Aiden had met during his first visit, approached them. His gaze lingered on Aiden with a thoughtful expression before turning to Lyriel. Lyriel, it seems our new friend has proven himself in more ways than one today. What say you? Thalion asked, his voice resonant with the wisdom of his years. Lyriel responded with a nod, her eyes reflecting pride. Aiden has not only fought alongside us but has shown great bravery and skill. His actions today have saved many lives and, possibly, the forest itself. Thalion turned to Aiden, extending his hand in a traditional elven gesture of friendship. Aiden, on behalf of the Sylvan Elves, I offer you our deepest thanks. Your courage and commitment to our cause have earned you more than just our gratitude. Aiden accepted the gesture, feeling a surge of pride and responsibility. Thank you, Thalion. I am honored to stand with you and will continue to do whatever I can to protect this forest and its people. Thalion smiled, then addressed the gathering of elves who had started to form around them. Hear me, my kin. Today, we witnessed the valor of an outsider who fought as one of our own. In recognition of his bravery and in the spirit of unity, I propose an alliance with Aiden. He shall be known as a friend of the forest, a title bestowed upon those who prove themselves true protectors of our realm. The elves murmured among themselves, their voices a blend of excitement and approval. One by one, they came forward, offering Aiden gestures of acceptance and respect, solidifying his new role among them. Aiden, as a friend of the forest, you are now welcome to learn from us and share in our knowledge, Thalion continued. Together, we shall stand stronger against any who threaten the peace of our lands. Aiden felt overwhelmed but determined. I am ready to learn and to help defend this beautiful place. Let's work together to ensure that it remains safe for generations to come. Lyriel, who had been watching the exchange with a soft smile, then spoke up. Let us now discuss our strategy for the future. The dwarves may return, and we must be prepared. Aiden, your insight as both an outsider and now an ally will be invaluable. They gathered around a large table, where maps and scrolls were spread out. Aiden leaned in, ready to contribute, feeling fully part of the team. As they planned, he realized how much he had grown since his arrival in Elisareth, no longer just a wanderer, but a key player in the ongoing story of this magical realm. The meeting continued into the evening, with discussions on strengthening defenses, increasing patrols, and enhancing the magical barriers around the outpost. Aiden proposed integrating some of the defensive magic he had learned with the elves' existing strategies, an idea well received by the council. As night fell, and the meeting concluded, Aiden walked with Lyriel to the edge of the outpost, looking out over the forest that was now partially his to protect. Today feels like a turning point, he said quietly. It is, Lyriel agreed. For both you and for us. The path ahead will be challenging, but with allies like you, I believe we are ready for whatever comes our way. Aiden and Lyriel approached the formidable gates of the dwarven fortress, nestled against the stark backdrop of the rugged mountains. The air was tinged with the smell of smoke and the distant sound of metal striking metal. Are you sure this is a good idea? Aiden asked, eyeing the towering stone walls and the iron-wrought gates that stood imposingly before them. It's necessary, Lyriel responded with a tone of resolve. If we are to understand their motives and find a peaceful resolution, we need to engage them directly. As they reached the gate, a grizzled dwarf guard clad in chainmail armor approached them, his beard as thick as the iron bars of the gate. Halt! State your purpose, he barked, eyeing them suspiciously. We wish to speak with your leaders, Lyriel said, her voice calm and authoritative. We come in peace, from the Sylvan Elves, to discuss matters concerning both our peoples. The dwarf scrutinized them for a moment, then grunted, wait here, before disappearing behind the gates. Aiden glanced at Lyriel. Do you think they'll actually listen to us? We must hope so, she replied, her eyes fixed on the slowly opening gates. Much depends on this. The gates creaked open, and the dwarf guard returned. Thane Gorham will see you. Follow me, but keep your words wise. Dwarven patience isn't known for its longevity. They were escorted through the gates into a fortress that was as industrious inside as it was imposing outside. Dwarves bustled about, tending to forges, hauling ore, and sharpening weapons. The air was hot and filled with the clangor of industry. Their guide led them through the labyrinthine corridors to a large hall where Thane Gorham awaited. The Thane was a stout figure, his presence dominating the room despite his height. His beard was braided with gold beads, and his eyes were sharp as flint. "Welcome, elf and human," Thane Gorham said in a deep, rumbling voice. "I am told you come seeking dialogue. Speak your minds." Lyriel stepped forward. "Thank you, Thane Gorham. We come to discuss the recent skirmishes at the borders of the Sylvan Forest. We believe there is a misunderstanding that can be resolved without further conflict." Aiden added, "We have seen the effects of these skirmishes on both our peoples. It benefits neither of us to continue this conflict. Perhaps, together, we can find a way to coexist peacefully." Thane Gorham stroked his beard thoughtfully. "Your words are fair, but our needs are great. The veins of ore we mine are depleting, and the forest you protect sits atop new deposits that could sustain us for generations." Lyriel nodded understandingly. "We are aware of your needs, Thane. However, the forest is sacred to our people and vital to the balance of the land. We seek to find a solution that respects both our needs." The Thane leaned forward, his gaze intense. "And what might such a solution look like to you?" Aiden spoke up. "Perhaps there is a way to extract what you need without encroaching further into the forest. We have among us skilled mages who could work with your engineers to develop methods that minimize environmental impact." Thane Gorham considered this, his expression unreadable. "You speak of magic and engineering as if they were easily compatible. Still, I am willing to hear more. Continue this talk." Encouraged, Lyriel elaborated. "We propose a joint council composed of elves and dwarves to oversee the mining operations. Together, we can monitor the environmental impact and ensure that the needs of both sides are met responsibly." The Thane nodded slowly. "A council could indeed serve both our interests. I will consider your proposal. But know this, our survival is paramount. We will not forsake it for the sake of peace." "We understand, Thane Gorham," Lyriel replied. "And we respect your position. We too are committed to protecting our home and our people." As the meeting concluded, Thane Gorham stood. "I will consult with my advisors. You will have my answer by sunrise tomorrow. Until then, you are guests in my hall. Enjoy our hospitality." Aiden and Lyriel followed their dwarven escort through the bustling corridors of the fortress to a small but comfortably appointed chamber where they were offered refreshments. As they settled in, the sound of the fortress's daily grind continued unabated beyond the thick stone walls. "Do you think Thane Gorham will agree to the council?" Aiden asked, picking at the food, but his mind clearly on their mission. Lyriel, who seemed more at ease, nodded thoughtfully. "I believe there's hope." He listened, which is more than we could have anticipated. "The dwarves are practical. If we present this council as a solution that benefits them, they will consider it seriously." Before they could continue their discussion, a knock came at the door. It opened to reveal the dwarf guard who had first met them at the gate. "Thane Gorham requests your presence at the strategy table. He's ready to continue your discussions." "Thank you," Lyriel replied as they both rose to follow the guard back to the Thane's council chamber. Upon entering, they found Thane Gorham seated at a large, circular table that was covered with maps and mining equipment. Several other dwarves, likely advisors, were with him, their expressions ranging from curious to skeptical. "Welcome back," Thane Gorham greeted them. He gestured to the seats. "Let us continue our parley. You speak of joint oversight through a council. Explain how you envision this functioning in practical terms." Aiden took the lead, feeling a rush of adrenaline as the critical moment to convince the dwarves approached. "Thank you, Thane. Imagine a council where representatives from both our peoples work together to oversee mining operations. This council could set quotas to ensure sustainability, employ magic to minimize environmental damage, and resolve disputes that arise." One of the dwarf advisors, a stern-looking figure with a clipboard, frowned. "And what's to stop you from simply vetoing any action that favors our people?" "We need assurances that our voices will be equally heard." Lyriel answered, "Each side would have an equal number of votes. Additionally, we propose an independent mediator for deadlock situations, perhaps someone from the human settlements or another neutral party." Thane Gorham stroked his beard, considering. "And what are the profits from the mines? How would they be distributed?" "That's a fair question," Aiden replied. "Profits could be shared based on contribution and need. We would also propose reinvesting a portion into the local community for both dwarves and elves, funding public works and infrastructure." The room fell silent as the dwarves mulled over the proposal. The clinking of mugs and the distant clangs from the forge filled the pause, adding a rhythmic backdrop to the tense atmosphere. Finally, Thane Gorham nodded slowly. "This council, your idea has merit, but it requires trust, something in short supply these days." Lyriel leaned forward, her tone earnest. "Trust is built through action, Thane Gorham. Let this council be our first step toward rebuilding what has been lost between our peoples." Another advisor, a younger dwarf with keen eyes, piped up. "What about security measures? How do we ensure that the operations aren't sabotaged by external parties?" "We can establish a joint security force, staffed by both elves and dwarves. They would protect the mining sites and ensure that the operations are smooth," Aiden suggested. pleased to see the advisors engaging constructively. Thane Gorham exchanged looks with his advisors, who nodded subtly. Very well, we will try your counsel. But be warned, the first sign of treachery or failure to uphold the agreed terms, and the deal is void. Understood, Lyriel responded, a hint of relief in her voice. We are committed to transparency and fairness. Thane Gorham stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Then we have an accord. For now, let us draft the terms formally tomorrow. Tonight, you dine with us as guests in our hall. As they left the council chamber, Aiden felt a mixture of triumph and trepidation. They had taken a significant step towards peace, but the path ahead would require careful navigation. Lyriel, that went better than I expected, Aiden admitted as they retraced their steps back to their quarters. Yes, but the real work begins now, Lyriel replied. Establishing this council is just the start. We must ensure it succeeds, for the sake of both our peoples. After the intense negotiations, Aiden and Lyriel were led to the great hall of the dwarven fortress for a ceremonial dinner. The hall was vast, with long wooden tables lined with candles that cast a warm glow over the assembled dwarves and their guests. The air was filled with the rich aroma of roasted meats and freshly baked bread. As they took their seats, Thane Gorham raised his mug of stout ale and addressed the gathering. Tonight, we dine not as foes, but as potential allies. Let us drink to the possibility of peace and prosperity for both our peoples. Aiden lifted his mug in response, following the dwarven custom. To new beginnings, he echoed, and the hall erupted in a chorus of approval. During the meal, a dwarf named Bruni, one of Thane Gorham's advisors, leaned over to Aiden. Human, you argue well. Tell me, what made you so passionate about protecting the elves in their forest? Aiden chewed thoughtfully on a piece of bread before answering. I've seen too much needless destruction in my time. Bruni, if there's a way to avoid conflict and find a sustainable solution, I believe it's worth every effort. Bruni nodded, his eyes reflecting a mix of skepticism and curiosity. And you believe the elves will keep their word? They are known to be fiercely protective of their lands. I do, Aiden replied sincerely. I've seen their dedication to balance and harmony. They understand the stakes. The conversation shifted as Lyriel joined in. And what of the dwarves? Bruni, there seems to be a deep-rooted fear that the elves might betray your trust. Bruni took a deep swig of his ale before responding. It's true, there's history there, old grievances, but perhaps it's time we forge a new path. If this council can truly be fair and just, it may heal old wounds. The dinner continued with lively discussions about the proposed council. Thane Gorham, who had been mostly silent, finally spoke again. Aiden, Lyriel, your council proposal is a gamble, but it's a gamble I'm willing to take if it means a better future for our children. Let us proceed with drafting this treaty tomorrow. Thank you, Thane Gorham. We are committed to making this work, Lyriel said, her expression one of relief and determination. As the feast wound down, Aiden reflected on the evening's discussions. He felt a sense of accomplishment, but knew the hardest part was still to come. Implementing the council and ensuring its success would require constant vigilance and cooperation. Later, as Aiden and Lyriel walked back to their quarters, the cool night air felt refreshing after the warmth of the great hall. Aiden, do you think they truly believe peace is possible? Lyriel asked, her voice low. I think they want to believe, Aiden replied. Just as we do. It's going to take work, Lyriel, a lot of work. But tonight showed that even the deepest divides can be bridged with understanding and dialogue. Lyriel nodded, looking up at the stars. Let's hope that this council can be a model for others. Maybe it will inspire more than just our peoples. Aiden smiled, feeling a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. From your lips to the gods' ears. Lyriel, for now, let's get some rest. We have a big day ahead of us. Aiden and Lyriel were in the middle of reviewing strategic maps spread across a large wooden table in the Elven Council room, discussing potential locations for joint patrols, when the ground beneath them shook violently. A terrifying roar, loud enough to rattle the windows, cut through the air. What in the world was that? Aiden exclaimed, grabbing onto the table for stability. That sounded like a dragon's roar, Lyriel replied, her voice tense as she moved swiftly to the window, peering out towards the horizon. Aiden joined her, and they saw a massive shadow pass over the forest, blocking out the sun for a moment. A dragon here? Are you sure? Quite sure, Lyriel said grimly. It's been centuries since one was last seen this close to our lands. This is ill-timed indeed. They hurried outside, joining a flurry of elves gathering weapons and armor. The dragon swooped down again, its scales glinting in the sunlight, a blaze of fire spewing from its gaping maw. We need to defend the village. Can you fight? Lyriel asked, turning to Aiden with a look of fierce determination. I can. Let's do what we must, Aiden replied, feeling a rush of adrenaline. Together with a band of elves, they positioned themselves in the village clearing, bows and magic at the ready, as the dragon circled back for another pass. Focus on its eyes and underbelly. Those are its weakest spots, Lyriel instructed, knocking an arrow to her bow. Aiden concentrated, summoning his magical energy to create a shield over the group of archers, including Lyriel. I'll cover you, as the dragon flew low, belching fire. Lyriel let her arrow fly, striking the beast in the eye. It roared in pain, veering off course and crashing into the nearby trees, which caught fire upon impact. "We need to keep it grounded," shouted an elf captain. "Aim for the wings!" Arrows and spells flew, creating a barrage of attacks that pelted the dragon's massive wings. Aiden, focusing his energy, enhanced the arrow's penetration by weaving a spell that hardened their tips to pierce the dragon's thick scales. The dragon thrashed and roared, trying to regain altitude, but the combined assault kept it earthbound. It turned its fiery gaze towards the line of defenders, its eyes glowing with rage and pain. "Prepare for another charge," Lyriel warned, as the dragon inhaled deeply, its chest glowing with the buildup of fire. Aiden readied himself, knowing the next few moments would be crucial in their defense of the elven village. The dragon reared up, its massive wings beating furiously as it prepared to unleash another torrent of flames. Aiden felt the heat radiating off the creature, a prelude to the impending inferno. "Brace yourselves," he shouted, strengthening the magical shield around them. The dragon expelled a searing blast of fire, its bright intensity lighting up the village square. The shield held, but barely, flickering under the dragon's fiery assault. Lyriel, eyes narrowed in concentration, notched another arrow, this one tipped with a gleaming, rune-etched head. "This one's for the beast's other eye." "Cover me, Aiden." Aiden nodded, diverting some of his energy to reinforce her position. "Now, Lyriel." With precise aim, Lyriel released the arrow. It soared straight and true, piercing the dragon's remaining good eye. The beast roared in agony, thrashing wildly as it blindly lashed out at the surrounding buildings and trees, setting them ablaze. "We can't let it flail near the homes. We need to drive it away from the village," Aiden yelled over the chaos. Lyriel looked around, her expression grim. "There, the old quarry. It's deserted and will contain it for a while." "Lead it there," Aiden understood immediately. Concentrating, he conjured a series of loud, explosive sounds near the dragon, herding it with bursts of light and noise towards the quarry. The blinded dragon, confused and pained, followed the sensory bait, moving away from the village. As they maneuvered the beast, Aiden felt his energy waning, the constant magical exertion draining his reserves. "I don't know how much longer I can keep this up," he gasped, sweat beading his forehead. Lyriel, running beside him, glanced at his pale face. "Just a bit further, Aiden. We're almost there." Reaching the quarry, Aiden gathered his last bit of strength and unleashed a final spell, a powerful gust of wind that pushed the dragon off balance and into the pit of the quarry. The dragon fell with a ground-shaking thud, its roars echoing off the stone walls. "It's down," Lyriel exclaimed, her face a mix of relief and fatigue. Aiden collapsed to his knees, exhausted. Did we just trap a dragon?" Lyriel offered him a hand, helping him to his feet. "We did, thanks to your quick thinking and magic. But it won't be contained for long. We need to inform the elders and prepare for what comes next." The two made their way back to the village, the sounds of the dragon's enraged roars a grim reminder of the threat still looming in the quarry. As they walked, Aiden's mind raced with the implications of their actions. "Lyriel, what will happen now?" "If it escapes, we'll be ready," Lyriel interrupted firmly. "You've shown us that even the fiercest beast can be outsmarted. We'll consult with the elders and reinforce the quarry. This dragon can be both a danger and an opportunity." "An opportunity?" Aiden asked, puzzled. "Yes, to study it, understand it, perhaps even learn why it came here after so many years," Lyriel explained. As they reached the edge of the village, they were met with cheers from the elves who had witnessed their tactical retreat of the dragon. Aiden felt a mix of pride and overwhelming responsibility. They had saved the village today, but the true challenge was just beginning. "Come, let's get you rested and then gather the council." "This day is far from over," Lyriel said, leading Aiden towards the healer's lodge. Aiden and Lyriel, exhausted yet vigilant, returned to the village square, which was now bustling with elves working to put out the last of the fires and repair the damage caused by the dragon's assault. "Will it hold?" Aiden asked, watching as a team of elves reinforced the entrance to the quarry with heavy stones and enchantments. "It should, at least for now," Lyriel replied, her gaze fixed on the distant quarry. "But we need a more permanent solution." As they discussed potential strategies, a sudden, ear-splitting roar shook the ground beneath them. The dragon had not taken kindly to its confinement and was testing the barriers with renewed fury. "We need to act quickly," Lyriel stated, urgency coloring her tone. She turned to Aiden. "Can you muster any more magic? We may need to strengthen the barriers further." Aiden nodded, though he felt his reserves were nearly depleted. "I'll do what I can." They hurried towards the quarry, joining a group of elven mages already chanting and weaving complex spells. Aiden closed his eyes, focusing deeply, drawing on every last bit of his strength to channel a reinforcing spell into the weakening barriers. Just as he released his spell, the ground trembled violently. The dragon, in a desperate bid for freedom, had struck the barrier with such force that the entire quarry shook. Aiden stumbled, feeling a surge of pain as his magic, pushed too far, recoiled. Lyriel grabbed his arm, steadying him. Aiden, are you all right? Before he could respond, the dragon roared again, its powerful voice filled with rage and pain. The barrier flickered, cracks appearing in the magical construct. It's breaking through, someone shouted. Aiden, ignoring his pain, focused once more. I have to hold it back, he murmured, pushing himself to reinforce the barrier. Lyriel looked at him, concern evident on her face. Aiden, don't. But it was too late. Aiden poured all his remaining energy into the spell, and as the dragon smashed against the barrier once more, the force of the impact sent a backlash of magical energy surging through him. The world spun, a cacophony of sounds and lights overwhelming his senses, and then darkness. When Aiden came to, he was lying on the soft grass at the edge of the elven village, the familiar starting point of his resets. He sat up slowly, his body aching, his head throbbing with every beat of his heart. Lyriel was there, kneeling beside him, relief washing over her face as she saw his eyes open. Aiden, you're back. I was so worried. Aiden looked around, disoriented. The dragon? Did we stop it? Lyriel shook her head. No, it broke through. We had to retreat. It's free now, roaming the northern ridges. We lost the quarry, but thankfully, no lives were lost. Aiden felt a pang of guilt, his shoulders sagging. I failed. Then, I couldn't hold it back. You did everything you could, Lyriel reassured him, helping him to his feet. Sometimes, even our best isn't enough against such power. But you stood your ground and fought bravely. Aiden glanced towards the north, where smoke still rose faintly on the horizon. What now? Now, we regroup and plan our next move. The dragon is wounded and wary. It won't venture near populated areas for some time. But we need to be prepared for when it does, Lyriel explained. Aiden nodded, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. Then let's get started. There's much to be done, and I want to help. Lyriel smiled slightly, the bond between them strengthened by the ordeal. Come on, let's gather the council. We need all the wisdom and strength we can muster. Aiden and Lyriel stood at the entrance of the necropolis, a sprawling city shrouded in mist and mystery, its gates like the jaws of some ancient beast waiting to swallow them whole. The air was tinged with a palpable chill that seemed to seep into their bones. This place, it feels like we're on the edge of the world, Aiden murmured, pulling his cloak tighter around him. It's not the world, but what lies beyond it that concerns me, Lyriel responded, her eyes scanning the dark horizon. The undead realms are not governed by the laws of the living. Remember, we are intruders here. They passed under the archway, and a silence fell, so profound it drowned out the sound of their footsteps. As they ventured deeper, an ethereal figure materialized before them. Its form was barely more than a wisp of smoke, yet its presence commanded their full attention. Who enters the realm of the dead? The figure intoned, its voice echoing off the ancient stone like a whisper from a forgotten time. We seek knowledge and understanding, Aiden replied, his voice steady despite the unnerving setting. We come in peace, with respect for those who dwell here. The spectral figure regarded them with hollow eyes that seemed to pierce straight through to their souls. Many have come with such words, only to bring further desecration to our rest. Why should you be any different? Lyriel stepped forward, her demeanor calm and her voice clear. We acknowledge the pain and suffering that permeates this place. We wish only to learn of your curse and, if possible, to ease it. The figure seemed to consider their words, its form shifting like smoke in a gentle breeze. Finally, it spoke again. Very well. You may enter, but be warned. The truths of the necropolis are not easily born. What you learn here may haunt you long after you leave. With a gesture from its ghostly hand, the path before them cleared, revealing a road lined with tombstones that faded into the mist. Aiden and Lyriel nodded their thanks and proceeded along the path, each step taking them deeper into the city of the dead. As they walked, the graves gave way to crypts and mausoleums, each more elaborate than the last. Shadows seemed to flicker and move just at the edge of their vision, and every so often, a face or a figure would appear, watching them from the darkness. Aiden kept his voice low, a mix of awe and apprehension in his tone. What do you think we'll find here? Answers, I hope, Lyriel replied, her eyes never ceasing their vigilant watch, or at least a better understanding of the forces we're dealing with. Their path eventually led them to a central plaza, dominated by a statue of a hooded figure, its face obscured by shadow. Here, the air felt even colder, the mist thicker. A group of undead, more solid in form than the wraith-like sentry at the gate, awaited them. One stepped forward, its gaze fixed on Lyriel and Aiden. You've been permitted to enter our domain, it said, its voice a chilling echo. Speak now your questions, and be prepared for the answers. Lyriel nodded to Aiden, indicating that he should take the lead. Aiden cleared his throat, aware of the many eyes now fixed upon them. We wish to understand the nature of your curse. How did it come to be? And why does it bind you to this world? The undead figure's eyes seemed to glow faintly as it replied. The curse is ancient, as old as the necropolis itself. It was born of betrayal and a forbidden desire to overcome death. But its origin is only part of the story. The rest remains locked within the heart of the necropolis, guarded by those who wish to keep the curse unbroken. The air in the necropolis grew colder as the ghostly figure, identified only as the custodian, continued to reveal the origins of the undead curse. Aiden and Lyriel listened intently, the eerie glow of ethereal lights casting shadows that danced across the crumbling walls. The curse was not meant to be a punishment, but a gift, the custodian began, its voice echoing mournfully through the plaza. It was sought by a king who feared death, wishing instead to rule his kingdom forever through the shadow of undeath. And how did that lead to a curse? Aiden asked, his curiosity piqued. The custodian's form shimmered as if agitated by the memory. The ritual required to achieve eternal life was dark and fraught with peril. It demanded a sacrifice of life and purity. When the king proceeded, he did not understand that in denying death, he denied life itself, twisting the natural order. Lyriel stepped forward, her face a mask of both fascination and horror. So, he succeeded? In a manner of speaking, the ghostly figure replied. He gained immortality, but not as he had envisioned. His body withered, his soul bound to his decaying flesh. He became the first of the undead, cursed to wander between life and death, never to find solace. And the others? Aiden glanced around, noting the many spectral forms that lingered in the shadows, watching. They were his subjects, loyal followers who partook in the ritual, believing it would lead to glory and eternal life. Instead, they became trapped in this half-existence, forever tied to the necropolis, the custodian explained. Lyriel, always sensitive to the suffering of others, felt a wave of empathy. Is there no way to break the curse? To free these souls? The custodian paused, its gaze drifting to the obscured moon above. There is a way, spoken of only in whispers. It lies with the Night Lord, the king who first brought this curse upon us. He holds the key to our release, but he guards it jealously, for it is also the source of his power. Aiden's determination hardened. Where can we find this Night Lord? We wish to help, if we can. The Night Lord resides deep within the catacombs beneath the necropolis, surrounded by his most devout followers. It is a perilous journey, one few have ever made and returned to speak of, warned the custodian. Lyriel nodded resolutely. Then we must prepare ourselves. We cannot leave these souls to suffer for eternity if there is something we can do to help them. The custodian bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. Your courage is admirable, living ones. If you are to face the Night Lord, you must be equipped with knowledge and protected by more than just steel and spell. What do you suggest? Aiden asked, his mind racing with strategies and plans. Seek the Seer of Bones, the custodian replied. She resides at the edge of the Dead Woods, not far from here. She can provide you with the talismans needed to protect your spirits from the corruption that permeates the catacombs. Lyriel quickly took note, her practical mind already ticking through their next steps. Thank you, custodian. We will seek the seer and do what we must. As they turned to leave, the custodian's voice followed them, a whisper on the wind. Beware. The path you choose is fraught with danger, not just to your bodies, but to your very souls. After leaving the custodian, Aiden and Lyriel made their way toward the edge of the Dead Woods, the location given by the custodian to find the Seer of Bones. As they ventured deeper into the necropolis, the air grew thicker with the miasma of decay, and the path became littered with relics of those who had once tried to lift the curse and failed. According to the custodian, this seer can help us prepare for the Night Lord, Aiden said, his voice low, eyes scanning the eerie landscape that stretched before them. Yes, but we must also understand the divide among the undead here. If we're to face the Night Lord, knowing where their loyalties lie could be crucial, Lyriel replied, her gaze fixed on a group of shadowy figures standing near a dilapidated mausoleum. Approaching cautiously, they were met by an undead figure who seemed less decayed than the others, its eyes glowing with a faint light of awareness. Why do the living walk among the dead? It asked, its tone curious rather than threatening. We seek the Seer of Bones to understand more about the curse and how we might end it, Aiden answered directly, hoping to gain the figure's trust. The undead creature paused, then nodded slowly. Many here cling to the Night Lord, believing he offers them protection from final death. Others, like myself, seek release from this eternal torment. Lyriel stepped forward, her voice gentle. We've heard of the division. Is there a way to sway those loyal to the Night Lord? Could they be convinced to help us instead? Some might, if they believe the Night Lord's power could be broken. Many are tired of his tyranny, his promises of a salvation that never comes, the undead replied, its voice tinged with sadness. Could you help us reach these individuals? We need all the support we can get if we're to face the Night Lord, Aiden asked, aware of the delicate politics they were navigating. The figure hesitated, then extended a hand, palm up, in a gesture of agreement. I will gather those who might be swayed. Meet me here at dusk tomorrow. We will talk then. Thank you, Lyriel said, giving a respectful nod as they backed away, continuing their journey toward the edge of the Dead Woods. As dusk fell, they reached the home of the Seer of Bones, marked by an archway of entwined branches adorned with skulls and ancient runes. The door creaked open before they could knock, revealing an old, hunched figure cloaked in tattered robes. "You seek tools to challenge the Night Lord," the seer intoned, her voice as old as the wind. "Come in, but know that what you ask for carries a weight even the dead fear to bear." Inside, the hut was dimly lit by candles that cast long shadows on the walls, filled with bones and charms. The seer moved to a table cluttered with various artifacts, picking up a set of talismans. "These will guard your spirits against the darkest magics of the Night Lord. But they demand a price." "What price?" Aiden asked, wary of the ambiguous warning. "Part of your life force, a sliver of your soul," the seer explained, her eyes sharp under the flickering candlelight. "It is the only way to protect against such potent necromancy." Aiden exchanged a look with Lyriel, both understanding the gravity of their decision. After a moment, Aiden nodded. "We accept the risk. For the chance to bring peace to the undead and stop the Night Lord, it is a price we are willing to pay." "Very well," the seer said, handing them the talismans. "Use them wisely, and remember, the path to defeating the Night Lord is fraught with peril that will test more than your courage." Aiden and Lyriel walked through the towering gates of Thaloria, the capital bustling with the chaotic energy typical of human cities. The sounds of merchants haggling, horses clattering on cobblestones, and minstrels playing filled the air with vibrant life. "This is quite different from the elven forests and dwarven halls we've been accustomed to," Aiden remarked, his eyes wide as he took in the sprawling market square. "It is," Lyriel agreed, her hand resting on the hilt of her sword, ever vigilant. "Human cities have their charms and dangers. One must be as wary of sharp tongues as of sharp blades here." They made their way through the crowded streets towards the central tavern, known as the Golden Horn, a place rumored to be a hub for both information and intrigue. As they entered, the dim light and smoky air contrasted sharply with the brightness outside. Aiden approached the bar, where a burly man with a scar running down his cheek served drinks. "Greetings. We're travelers looking for insight into Thaloria's politics. Can we exchange a few coins for some information?" Aiden asked, laying a couple of silver pieces on the counter. The bartender's eyes flicked to the coins, then back up to Aiden. "You've come to the right place," he said, pocketing the silver. "What do you want to know?" "We need to understand the power structure." "Who really controls Thaloria?" Aiden asked, leaning in slightly. The bartender chuckled dryly. "The Lord Mayor's the face of power, but it's the Merchant Council that pulls the strings. They've got the gold, see, and in Thaloria, gold wields more power than any crown." Lyriel, who had been scanning the room, added, "And what of the people? Are they content with this arrangement?" The bartender shook his head. "Content? Hardly. There's rumblings of discontent everywhere, from the back alleys to the silk-lined chambers of the nobility. But as long as the merchants keep the coin flowing, no one's powerful enough to challenge them openly." "Thank you. That's very helpful," Aiden said, taking note of the information. "One more question. Any advice for a couple of newcomers looking to navigate these waters safely?" "Keep your friends close and your purse closer," the bartender advised with a smirk. "And never take a deal at face value. In Thaloria, every bargain has its price." With a nod of thanks, Aiden and Lyriel left the tavern, stepping back into the bustling city. "We need to be careful here," Lyriel whispered as they merged with the crowd. "If we're to find allies in such a place, we'll need to be as cunning as the locals." Aiden looked thoughtful. "Perhaps we should seek an audience with the Lord Mayor. If we understand his interests, maybe we can find a way to align them with ours." Lyriel agreed, and they decided to seek out the mayor's manor, which was located in the heart of the city, a grand building that overlooked the central square. As they navigated through the streets, they observed the stark contrasts of the city, from the opulence of the wealthy districts to the squalor of the poor quarters. It was clear that Thaloria was a city of many layers, each with its own secrets and challenges. "Understanding this city is going to be more complicated than I thought," Aiden mused as they made their way through a particularly lavish part of town. "But not impossible," Lyriel added with a determined look. "We faced dragons and undead lords. We can handle a few human politicians." After securing a meeting through various connections and a few more discreet inquiries, Aiden and Lyriel found themselves in the opulent waiting room of the Lord Mayor's manor, a place adorned with velvet drapes and gilded portraits of past mayors. The air was thick with the scent of expensive incense, and the soft murmur of conversation from the adjoining halls spoke of power and privilege. A young woman approached them, her gait confident and her attire a mix of practicality and elegance. "I'm Alana, an aide to the Lord Mayor. He will see you shortly. I understand you're new to Thaloria. What brings such distinguished guests to our city?" "We're here to seek allies for a cause that concerns more than just our own lands," Lyriel answered diplomatically. "We believe Thaloria could play a crucial role." Alana nodded, her interest piqued. "Interesting. The Lord Mayor is always looking for ways to enhance our city's standing. If your cause aligns with his ambitions, there might be potential for collaboration." Just then, they were ushered into the Lord Mayor's office, a lavishly decorated room with a sweeping view of the city. The Lord Mayor, a middle-aged man with sharp eyes and a calculating smile, greeted them warmly. "Welcome, Aiden and Lyriel. Alana tells me you're here on a mission of some importance. He began, gesturing for them to sit. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this cause of yours. Aiden took the lead, explaining their need to build a coalition against a common threat, carefully omitting specific details that might expose too much of their strategy. The Lord Mayor listened intently, steepling his fingers as he considered their words. Your proposal is ambitious, and while I am not opposed to helping, Thaloria's involvement must yield benefits for its people. What can you offer in return for our support? Alana watched the exchange closely, her analytical gaze missing nothing. We can offer trade opportunities and knowledge exchange that could benefit Thaloria economically, Aiden replied. Moreover, participating in this coalition could position Thaloria as a leader on a broader stage. The Lord Mayor nodded thoughtfully. Very well, I am willing to consider your proposal. However, I will need to discuss this with the Merchant Council. They hold significant influence over our city's affairs. Alana spoke up. If I may, Lord Mayor, facilitating such discussions could be advantageous. It aligns with your vision for Thaloria's future. Perhaps I could assist our guests in navigating the council's complexities? An excellent suggestion, Alana. Proceed. The Lord Mayor approved, then turned back to Aiden and Lyriel. Alana will be your liaison. Impress the council, and you'll have Thaloria's support. As they left the Lord Mayor's office, Alana guided them through a side door, leading to a quieter part of the manor. The Merchant Council will meet in 2 days. Until then, I suggest we prepare thoroughly. The counselors are shrewd and will scrutinize your every word. Thank you. Alana, we appreciate your guidance, Lyriel said, acknowledging the young woman's astuteness. Over the next 2 days, Alana proved an invaluable ally, providing insights into each counselor's preferences and prejudices. She arranged small meetings with key figures, allowing Aiden and Lyriel to make preliminary introductions and gauge the political climate. At each meeting, Aiden and Lyriel adapted their pitch, highlighting different aspects of the coalition based on the counselor's interests. Security for some, economic opportunities for others. The key to winning their support is to make them see the coalition as essential for Thaloria's prosperity and safety, Alana advised after a particularly challenging negotiation. Your cause must appear as a solution to their concerns, not just a noble endeavor. Lyriel nodded, taking in every lesson the human city taught her. Thaloria is a complex weave of ambition and caution. Navigating it is like walking a tightrope. As they prepared for the final meeting with the full Merchant Council, Aiden felt a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. The stakes were high, but they had come prepared. We've done all we can, he said to Lyriel as they reviewed their notes one last time. Now, let's see if Thaloria is ready to join us in our fight. Aiden, Lyriel, and Alana entered the Grand Council chamber of Thaloria, a room lined with long tables and high-backed chairs. The air was thick with tension and anticipation as the city's most influential merchants and counselors gathered, their expressions ranging from curious to cautious. Alana leaned in to whisper to Aiden and Lyriel as they found their seats. Remember, each counselor here represents a faction with its own interests. Winning their support might require addressing those interests directly. Aiden nodded, taking a deep breath, his gaze sweeping across the room. We're ready, he assured her, though the flutter in his stomach suggested otherwise. The Lord Mayor opened the session with formal greetings and quickly moved on to introduce Aiden and Lyriel. We are here to discuss a proposal of significant importance, one that promises to impact Thaloria and beyond, he announced. Aiden stood, clearing his throat slightly as all eyes turned toward him. Honored counselors, we come before you to propose the formation of a coalition. This alliance seeks to address threats that endanger not just our individual lands but our collective futures. A counselor, an elderly woman with sharp eyes, raised her hand. You speak of threats and coalitions, but what are the tangible benefits for Thaloria? What do we gain from joining your cause? Lyriel responded, her voice steady and clear. Thaloria stands to gain enhanced security, access to new markets, and a voice in a powerful alliance that spans several realms. In unity, there is strength, and in strength, opportunity. A younger counselor, a man known for his ambitious projects, chimed in. And what are the costs? Such alliances require not just commitment but substantial resources. How do you propose we manage these? Alana stepped forward, addressing the concern. Part of our strategy includes shared resources and knowledge exchange. Thaloria's investment would be compensated by advances in trade agreements and defense technologies, shared among coalition members. The discussion deepened, with several counselors debating the merits and risks of the proposal. Aiden and Lyriel answered each query and concern with patience and detail, their earlier preparations with Alana paying off. As the meeting drew on, a respected middle-aged counselor, known for her decisive nature, finally spoke. While I understand the hesitations, I also see the strategic advantage in what is being proposed. Thaloria has always thrived on its adaptability and its alliances. Perhaps it's time we expand our horizons. Her words seemed to shift the mood in the room, as other counselors began to nod in agreement. The tide was turning, but the final push was still needed. Seeing this, Aiden took a moment to gather his thoughts, then spoke passionately. Counselors, At heart, this is about more than trade or security. It's about positioning Theloria as a leader in a rapidly changing world. Your decision today could define our collective destiny. After a moment of silence, the Lord Mayor called for a vote. One by one, councilors cast their votes, the tension palpable in the air. Finally, the Lord Mayor announced, the proposal is accepted, with a significant majority in favor. Theloria will join the coalition. Relief and satisfaction washed over Aiden and Lyriel. They had done it, with Alana's invaluable help. They had secured Theloria's support. As the chamber began to empty, several councilors approached them, offering congratulations and expressing interest in their next steps. Alana, smiling, turned to Aiden and Lyriel. Well done. You've navigated Theloria's politics admirably. Now, the real work begins. Aiden laughed, the tension of the past days finally lifting. With allies like you, I believe we're ready for anything. Lyriel nodded in agreement, her eyes bright. This is just the beginning. Together, we'll build something that can withstand any storm.